Okay, so next we're going to have Susie, our co-director, Susie Merswick, and she's going to um, read us our GSFE mission. Oh, you are muted.
Good. Here we go. So our mission is to empower, inspire, mentor, educate, and connect women entrepreneurs so they can become successful entrepreneurs and enjoy fulfilling, productive, and abundant lives.
Thank you, Susie. So now I know the next one we always like to open with a quote. This time I make the change and I'm going to ask Susie. Susie always get a really, really very, very inspiring and empowering quote. So I'm going to ask Susie to start the meeting with her quote.
Okay. And ladies, I know that this applies to all of us. And this is my quote. You are strong enough to get this far, and you are strong enough to keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we
I
are.
know you can all
all-
relate to that.
Yes, we are strong women. Okay. So, Robbie, we're going to have announcement, and I'm going to start with you, the announcement for everybody's benefits.
Why don't I go at the end?
The end of the announcement. Okay.
At
Okay.
the end of
Okay.
before when we at the very end after we get through everything.
Oh, no, because we the agenda, I do announcement first, and after that,
Okay.
so but you will be the last one of the announcement then. Okay, I'm gonna ask for Susie. Susie, do you have announcement from your end that we need to know? And then I can
The
start.
only thing I want to make sure is that everybody comes to our holiday party, which is going to be on the first Thursday of December at 12 noon, and it's going to be no cost. And we're going to have fun and games and networking and just a lot of interaction. So mark December first Thursday
December
of
4th.
December
December
4th.
4th.
Okay. Yeah,
So I have
December
a
4th.
question.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, Lauren.
So because that's a free event,
Mhm.
are we allowed to invite like maybe one guest to come? So
Oh,
maybe
yes, yes, yes.
okay,
Mhm.
okay, great. Because
Yeah,
I'm planning to
yeah.
to do. Okay, great.
And
That's
and
good.
this is how it will work because we want to make sure that no, I don't know what you call those term that because that's happened to me in the early of a virtual meeting, people just bombing our network. So because of that, you have to register.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost you, but you have to register because then we know you or we inviting you. And so when you register, it will be no cost, and because then you will get the Zoom link. So if you have a guest, you can give that link to your guest if you want to. You have two choices. Ask, the guest to register, forward the invitation because we will send the invitation, but or you can just give the Zoom link to your guest.
Okay.
And this is a party. It's not a business meeting, so it's we're gonna have it for a couple hours from noon to two
Yeah.
o'clock, and we're
Yeah.
gonna have fun. Oh, we're gonna have, of course, one of them is we call it festive outfit. So we're gonna have a contest who dress up the best for festivity, and so we do that. And then if you have any suggestions, please put it in the chat. What certain game that we should have, and I would appreciate that because that will be fun. And then also, we don't have a gift exchange, but what we do is that we ask if you want to have gifts, donate gifts, and then just let me know. And then at the party, we're just going to call you. And so let's say we're going to say, Lauren, you have a gift. Tell me, what is this gift? And then you're going to say, I'm Lauren, my gift is this. Okay. And then if you have a photo, please send it to me and I'll show it so people know what the gift is. And we're going to draw the gifts. So that is voluntary. it's up to you. Okay, whether you want to have gift or not.
And
Okay.
the gifts can be books or, some
Yeah.
kind of a link that has a presentation or any kind of gift card, anything that's digital so we can easily get it to
Yeah. So
our
you don't have
members.
to pay
You
the
don't have to
shipping
mail
costs
anything.
because shipping costs nowadays just so expensive. So we thought, but if you want to do that, that's fine. But digital, that's preferred because then you'll just cut cost of you shipping to somebody. Okay. Any question about that? Holiday. So that's December, and next month it's of course it's Thanksgiving holiday month, but we will have a meeting too. Okay. And another one, just give you a heads up, GSFE for the first time, we are going to have a retreat. And retreat is not a virtual retreat. We actually going somewhere, and so that we're going to finalize that by next month, and that will be for next year, September 2026. So it will be fun. And again, the purpose of our retreat is basically again for us to get to know each other in person and share everything what we want to share. So imagine, ladies, and right now we know the limit that the capacity of this place is only 30. So first come, first serve for 30 people, and we will make it affordable. And so imagine 30 ladies, it's going to be in one place. So that's why we call it a retreat. We're going to learn from each other and build a better relationship with each other. So I'm hoping will be helpful for all of us. So that's the my announcement retreat and virtual holiday. And Robbie can explain more about the Kindness Day this year that will take place on November 13th. And Robbie, go ahead.
Okay, November 13th is International Kindness Day. We're doing it at the Hyatt Regency in Huntington Beach. The theme is goddess. So basically, everybody picking a goddess name. We're making banners to give to all the goddesses. And men can come and they become dukes. So we need a duke name for the men who are coming. The tickets are $80, and that includes the lunch, entertainment, and we have 5 vendors for that event. The place is very beautiful, and it's going to be at 11:30 again at the Hyatt Regency. In addition, we're doing a goddess calendar this year. Deadline, I'm extending it another week. So basically, what will happen on the calendar, you'll have your goddess name and your real name underneath of it, plus the date, month, and day only of your birthday. And the charge for that is $45. We hope to have the calendars at the event so people can buy the calendars for $15. We have 46 people already on that. I really need some people that have September birthdays. I know we have a lot of September birthdays, but they just didn't come in yet. So we could use a few more September birthdays. The other thing, she mentioned the retreat. She didn't mention it's going to be in Utah, so which is drivable or flyable, whatever you want to do. So we'll have more information on that. In addition to uh, the virtual holiday party, we're doing a live holiday party on December 3rd, and it'll be at the Jack's Barbecue in Lake Elsinore at 4 o'clock. And the cost for that is you order whatever you want from the menu and pay the restaurant direct, and then bring a $20 gift exchange. So you can do both, but be sure you do one. If you're virtual, support your virtual group. And if you can come to the other one too, that would be great. In addition, We have a collaboration with Loni, and every year, as you know, we some of us went to Africa, and the year before we went to Manila. This year, the trip in 2026, the trip is going to be to Nepal and India. So it'll be 5 days in Nepal and then 5 days in India. And apparently, India is only an hour and a half from where we're going to be in Nepal. So, and it's going to be in October 2026. More information will be coming, and so keep an eye out for that. We had 18 of our GSFE members in Africa, and many of them said it changed their lives. So if you like to travel and go to new places, think about going to that, and show up at your meetings because you're missing out on opportunities. We have 8 members that are being nominated for a Loney event that's coming up on October 26th. It's the Survivor one. This is I think it's their 7th year of doing that. And we love our collaboration. Also, next year in April, we were going to do it in May, but Dr. Peterson has asked me to move it to April. I don't know the location yet, but it'll probably be somewhere in Orange County. We're doing the honorary doctorate humanitarian degrees. I already have a couple for that. We have 7 going that we're joining the one in Vegas this month, and I have 7 girls going to that one. But next year we'll be doing it in California. We did it in California 2 years ago. So if you're interested, contact me for more information. That's all I have.
Okay, good. Thank you so much, Robbie. And by the way, Utah, it will be in southern Utah, so that is not that far, and it's be close, not far from the Zion National Park. So if you know about Zion National Park, I've been there, beautiful. Um, I love to go to Zion National Park. So anyway, um, we're gonna take a photo now, right? Oh, okay. Yeah, you have questions?
I was just going to ask, do we know the date of that retreat?
Yeah, but right now that's what we're going to confirm in a couple weeks. But it will be not not during the Labor Day. I think it's a week after Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll be in September. And the reason we choose September, as you know, September, what they call it, a shoulder week. So, kids out of school, I mean, in school now, so they're not on vacation. And so it's not going to be that crowded, the place. But also the weather, in southern Utah was just wonderful in September. Not hot, not cold. It's just very, very pleasant. So that's why, but also they call it a shoulder week. So it is not considered to be a high season for southern Utah in September. So that will be very good. So that's why we choose that, and so that we can get a better price, in Utah to do that. Okay. Okay, so Joan is our professional photographer, virtual photographer for us. So she's gonna take pictures of us. And go ahead, Joan.
All righty. Hello, ladies. Good to see you all. Oh, everybody's getting their smiles on. Good. Okay. So I'm gonna give you get 3 chances. All right. So here we go. Get that. Hey, everybody's looking good. Let me just get it like right now. And now you can change. Oh, who put that flag up? Somebody, did somebody come up? Did somebody just come on or something? Okay. So good smiles. Great, you look good. And the person with the flag, do you want to turn your camera on? If you don't, that's fine. But
Joan.
okay, good. Yay. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Just get another. You got a nice smile. Everybody's looking good. You're looking good. Okay, we're done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And by the way, Joan is very good. She sent me the photo and I share with all of you. So you can share that in your social media, whatever it is that, that you are enjoying this meeting and you're having fun. And thank you. Thank you. Okay. So next, we are going to have our speaker and Barbie Moreno. So Susie, my co-director, she's going to introduce Barbie. Okay.
Okay. Barbie Moreno is a resilience coach who helps people understand the intricacies of trauma, the science behind our responses, and the pathways to healing. Through practical techniques grounded in empathy and compassion, Barbie guides others in breaking free from limiting patience and moving towards the life of authenticity and fulfillment. Her approach integrates holistic transformation with science-based practices to treat deep, personalized transformations. So I'm very happy to welcome Barbie Moreno.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you. Go ahead, Barbie.
All right, I'll just kind of start.
Floor is yours.
Perfect. So welcome, and thank you for joining me for the Secret of Enoughness. It's the hidden path from achievement to real fulfillment for mid-life women, which is who I work with mostly, offering us steady energy, clear focus, and calmer days. So before we begin, I like to take a minute just to ground. I do this all of the time. And so I invite you to maybe silence your phones if they're on, close any other screens that you might be working on, because our time here today is precious and it will go by fast. And I want to offer you lots of tools and give you the opportunity to absorb them. So if it feels good to you, let's start with a breathing exercise that I like to do at the beginning of each of my sessions with my clients. It's a nervous system reset tool, but it's also a heart opener, which is why I invite you to place your heart on your hand if that feels good to you, or maybe even close your eyes or soften your gaze. The breathing exercise is an inhale for 4 seconds and an exhale for 7. So we'll just do 5 rounds of it. I'll count for you, and all you have to do is listen to my voice, breathe, be present. I will help you along the way. So if you feel like it, please place your hand on your heart. If not, just lower your gaze. And let's go ahead and inhale for 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale for 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale for 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 more. Inhale for 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Last one. Inhale for 2, 3, 4. And exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and come back to the space that you're in. Maybe just like notice the temperature of the room, the feeling of your chair, maybe something you can smell. All of these help ground us in the moment that we're in. And if that felt good to you, I'd love to see you maybe drop a heart in the chat. Let's celebrate our small wins together today. Thank you. So now that we've created this safe space, I invite you to feel into this question. So notice I said feel and not think, because the body tells us so much more about more truth about ourselves than our thoughts actually do. So whenever I ask you, do you ever feel, regardless of how much you do, that it's never enough? Maybe that you're never enough. Or maybe if you're like how I used to be, you even ask yourself in hard times, what's wrong with me? Now, imagine, what would it feel like if you believed that you are enough just as you are? That you're worthy without having to prove yourself? Or what would it feel like to be confident in your choices? Feel safe to say no without the fear of disappointing others? Or simply to be able to rest without guilt? So hard for us, especially as women. So I invite you to notice how your body responds to these ideas of what's possible for you. Did you get a little excited with these things? Maybe your shoulders fell a little bit, let go of some stress. Did your breath soften? Maybe anxiety came up because you're not doing these things. Just notice, no pressure, no judgment. Good. So we all have of our stories, right? And I'd like to take just a few minutes to share a little bit about mine with you so that you can see my journey and where I come from. So I was 4 years old when I first learned to make myself small. I remember standing in the hallway outside of my parents' bedroom, and there was yelling, there was things crashing, and my body was shaking with fear. After what felt like a long time to me, there was finally silence, and the door opened, and my mom emerged. She was bruised. Sorry, always a hard story. Her eyes were vacant, and they were filled with tears. I remember reaching out with my tiny little hands, just wanting to comfort her, but also to find comfort in her. But she just walked past me as if I didn't exist. In that moment, as a child who did not understand that my mom was in her own pain, my brain and heart had decided that her not reaching back for me meant I wasn't enough, that maybe my needs were too big, or I'm too sensitive, and sometimes I'm not even worthy of comfort or love. Of course, these weren't like my conscious thoughts, right? They were just survival adaptations. My little body, my mind, my heart were just trying to make sense of the chaos around me, because that's what little kids do. They internalize it, personalize it, and find a way to survive. This, of course, wasn't the first time this happened, nor would it be the last. And fear and abandonment showed up in so many ways over the years. So, in order to find worthiness and value, I learned to become everything everyone needed me to be, just to feel seen. I was the fixer, a lot of us women are, the achiever, the one who held it all together for everyone else, no matter the cost to myself. Does this sound familiar to anybody? I know I'm not alone. So just take a soft breath here if it does. We're all in this together. All of this doing, it actually really worked for me. I was considered very successful by society standards. I mean, I had everything I could possibly need physically, and I looked great on paper. But then suddenly things changed for me. At 34 years old, my second baby was born, and I spiraled into postpartum depression. I asked my boss for more time off than the weeks I had originally planned on being, which was still significantly less time than I was legally entitled to, because I knew that my career wouldn't allow me to take the full time off. He said, yes, take all the time you need. Well, the very next day, I got a text from a colleague and found out that he gave my office away to a male colleague. When I asked him why, he simply said to me, Michael doesn't need time off to have a baby, and that office is valuable. All of the sudden, those familiar feelings from my childhood began to creep back in. That fear of being replaceable, not worthy, and too much. His easy dismissal of my values shattered me. I felt erased, not just as a worker, but as a woman. So I went back to work, not in a few weeks or months, but immediately. My return was out of sheer panic of losing everything I'd worked so hard for and for the person that I had become in order to feel seen. I ignored that voice that we women often have inside telling me to rest and to heal, because pushing through was all that I knew, and it was how I had survived. 4 years later, it finally caught up with me and I broke. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. My doctors told me if I didn't take time off from work and give myself time to heal, my children would most likely be left without a mother. So I finally took that medical leave. But my depression and my anxiety just wouldn't go away. I tried everything, medications, therapy, nothing was working. And that's when somebody recommended horseback riding to me. There's a riding therapy equestrian therapy that they say is very helpful. It was supposed to help regulate my nervous system. So I thought, well, maybe this will be the thing. I was so desperate and willing to try anything at that point. So, hey, why not, right? Oops. So, as you can see, 4 lessons in, the horse spooked and I fell and broke my back. I fractured 2 vertebrae, herniated 4 discs, had emergency surgery, got concrete put in my back, and was hospitalized for quite a long time. At this time, I was completely bedridden and felt utterly helpless. I couldn't run anymore, not from my pain, not from myself, and definitely not from my past. I had no choice but to let people help me physically and emotionally. And the scariest part was that I had to be vulnerable, something I had spent my entire life running from. What could have been just another terrible experience in my life was actually the beginning of my real healing and coming home to my true self. This journey, it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And I didn't get here overnight, but in stillness, I began to ask different questions that I'd ever asked before. Not how do I do more, but what's the cost of constantly proving? What am I searching for? And why don't I feel like I'm enough? And maybe you're here because at some point in your life, you felt like that too. So this talk is for you if you're tired of holding it all together, but you don't know how to let go without falling apart. Give me some thumbs up if this resonates with you, any of these things. You've checked every box. You've gotten degrees, you have a special title, you got the house, maybe you've had the family, and yet you still feel empty. You know how to care for everyone else, but not for yourself. This is a big one. Rest feels unsafe. Slowing down feels like you're lazy. You crave peace, but you feel guilty for choosing yourself. You've been chasing your worth your entire life. You're ready to trade exhaustion for enoughness. Just one simple step at a time. So together here today, we're going to go deep. You're going to learn that your exhaustion is a message, not a flaw. That your perfectionism is protection, not identity. And that healing is not fixing yourself. It's just simply returning home to yourself. And by applying these tools and ideas that I'm teaching you here today, you'll learn how to feel rooted in your self-worth, knowing that you're enough just as you are. You'll be able to feel energized and light in your body, mind, and soul. The heaviness will be lifted and that fog will be cleared. You'll be grateful that sleepless nights turn into nights of rest and restoration because your body will finally learn how to get out of survival. And you'll finally feel joyful and be able to see life as an adventure to be lived instead of something to heal from and hide. It was through my journey that I learned 3 very valuable lessons that you must do in order to truly heal and know your worth. These things that you have to do are honor your journey with self-compassion. We all have a story. Let go of what no longer serves you and come home to your truth, your inherent worth, your worthiness, that you're simply enough simply because you exist. You will hear me say this so many times today because it is 100% the truth. You are enough simply because you exist. These things, they're more than just ideas that sound good. They're a return, a remembering, a homecoming to who you were before the world made you feel small. So everybody has a story. Yours is not going to be the same as mine. And we all have that thing, but we all have that thing that changed the way that we show up in our journey. Experiences that made us shrink in our essence in some way. So the first secret that I want to share with you that I learned to feel enough is to honor your journey and meet yourself with radical compassion, not judgment. Some of the ways that you might find or know that you're judging yourself is when things that we often find that we do a lot, like constantly replaying decisions that we've made in the past and going over ways we could have done things better. You can notice your body feels tense. Maybe you even get anxiety over these thoughts that just keep going and going in your mind. Maybe you've wondered, why am I like this? Or why can't I just change? There's feelings of despair in your heart or disappointment in who you are. And another way that you might be judging yourself is when you start bullying yourself for being too sensitive, or maybe calling yourself too much, discounting how you feel and how you express it, oftentimes holding things in and feeling drained of energy. And it oftentimes shows up in that tiredness, that ache that just won't go away. Or maybe you carry invisible grief for that little girl that never got to be seen, similar to my story. And there's some hidden sadness that you hide from others, but can never seem to escape really deep down inside. So again, let me know in chat if any of these sound familiar to you. I just love to share because I feel like it's so important for us all to know that we're not alone. It's important for you to know that these parts of you, all of these things I just talked about, they're not flaws, and neither is the exhaustion that comes from them. They're just simply evidence of your resilience. They kept you alive. They kept you moving, but now it's time to let them go. So I'm going to share some stories with you today on how these tools have changed some lives in a big way, how they actually work, how they made a difference. And I coached this beautiful lady who we're going to call Dr. N. Understand this, she's a doctor, so I'm not giving her real name to save her privacy. And, because she's going through a lot in this story that I don't want to get out there, right? So Dr. N is in her mid-30s. She's a psychotherapist who was recently divorced when we met, and she was referred to me by another client. After her divorce, Dr. N replayed the destruction of her marriage over and over in her head, trying to figure out where she went wrong. And anybody who's ever been divorced or ever separated in a relationship that they, valued can probably relate. If that's something, again, feel free to give us a heart. Let us know that you're here. So Dr. N realized her ex-husband, she idealized her ex-husband like this. In her mind, she had created this perfect man. And she began tracking him on social media. Some of us might call it stalking. And through friends, she would ask if he had found anybody else. Maybe maybe he found somebody quote unquote better. And she simply couldn't let go of what she thought was a perfect marriage and a perfect life, and kept asking herself, what was wrong with her? And why was she like this? Why wasn't she good enough to deserve to be happy? You see, she knew based on her profession, right? She's a psychotherapist, that her actions and her thought processes were not healthy. But no matter how much knowledge she had, she still couldn't get out of that place of despair she found herself in, that hole. So through our work together, starting off with energy work, I'm a Reiki master, and releasing what she was holding on to both energetically and mentally, we learned that her dependence on her need to have a perfect marriage actually originated much earlier in her life. As a child, Dr. N had a mother who completely needed to be mothered and taken care of instead of being the caretaker of her own children. So Dr. N came from a strict background where men was seen as the authority, and she was given the unfair responsibility by her father of taking on the role and duties of being the traditional mother role and wife role in the family as a very young girl. So her identity was built on being the good girl. A lot of us carry this, the one the family could depend on. And eventually in her career, she became known as the expert, the one with all of the answers. What people didn't know about her was that she was falling apart on the outside. She is amazing at portraying herself as happy. It's actually her nickname. So in our initial sessions together, I learned that she had also become a hoarder. Her once very clean home that welcomed guests, and she had dinner parties when she was married, and all of these different things became a place of shame. It was littered with things she didn't want to let go of, but she couldn't understand why she was holding on to them. So to help her with this, we added some reflection work to understand her patterns and why she made the choices that she did. These are the tools that we use. We learned to identify how she became so wrapped up in being perfect that she'd forgotten how to be herself. And that being the responsible one as a child made her overly responsible, as well as codependent on others for approval, which is what we saw with her mother and her ex-husband. So after we got her into a stable place, we worked on her anxiety. And there were days when Dr. N would simply hide in bed, dreading to go into the world. And so I taught her somatic exercises, breath work to regulate her nervous system and to allow her to begin to sleep through the night. And with the rest came clarity. A tired mind and body can never function. And it can never function at its best. But when you have rest, it's necessary to rest in order to completely heal. So if you've ever had a hard time sleeping or you've had anxiety, I'm here, I'm with you. Throw up a thumbs up, whatever it is that works for you. So with all the work that we did together, and we're still doing, she came a long way in recognizing her enoughness, which is the goal for us today as ladies. She stopped performing for others, trying to be a good girl and the one that everybody could depend on, and she reclaimed her worth, not because of her title as doctor or daughter or wife, but simply because she was a beautiful woman who deserved to be happy. And now she catches herself when she's feeling anxious and reflects on what's going on in that moment that's causing her to spiral. She's learned to stop, reflect, respond instead of reacting. I still cannot get her to stop the hoarding. She stopped the hoarding. We're working on getting the stuff out. This is a whole nother process. But, a year into her wholeness journey, she's entirely a different person. Her healing is a journey. She now has tools to give herself. And the most importantly, she treats herself with love and compassion. Love and compassion instead of the judgment she once lived in. So I like to always offer a reflection question. And I ask you to ask yourself, what would change if you met past patterns, things that you learned to survive with love instead of shame? And I invite you just to notice what comes up. No judgment, only compassion. Maybe you can add some comments in the chat if it feels good. But just notice, like all these things that we pick on ourselves for, what if instead of picking on ourselves, we just came up and said, you know what, I'm going to give you some compassion. You saved me in my life somehow. You worked for me. And then I invite you to simply take a breath together. We've already covered a lot. I have to talk fast because Angie's only given me 30 minutes. So, so the next secret to adjust to enoughness is letting go of what no longer serves you. This is so far hard for some of us, right? This is a self-worth practice, and it teaches us that just because we give up on doing something doesn't mean we're still failing. We're honoring ourselves and letting go of things we don't need anymore. It's about releasing at a soul level things that we've carried for far too long. And it's about gently unhooking ourselves from all of these masks that we wear for the world, these roles, these titles that people give us, and the stories that we inherited from our family, or maybe the ones that we created to feel safe or to feel valued in the world. When we don't let go of these things, these people in our lives and these ideas or these routines that don't serve us anymore, we feel exhausted all of the time, like we're fighting this war over and over again and carrying the weight of armor that we no longer need. We hold on to ideas of who we should be, right? There's that saying, never should on yourself, right? Like the fixer, the overachiever, the strong one, the smart one, and oh yeah, the pretty one, instead of loving who we truly are without all of these titles. And we can't completely rest because we're not at peace. And we still feel the need to prove ourselves to others, which puts our nervous system into high alert and gives us anxiety. So you may ask, why do we stay attached to things that no longer serve us? Anybody have any ideas on why we do this?
I think it's a cyclical, it's a behavior.
Yeah.
We're used to not having the space to grow,
Mhm.
and then we create our own space to make us feel worthy.
Yep. I agree, right?
It's familiar.
Mhm.
It's familiar and it's a comfort zone, basically. I mean, you know what to expect, you know what you're going to get. So there's no surprises.
Yep, exactly. Right. We feel comfortable. It's uncomfortable to try new things. It's uncomfortable to let go because we're comfortable in what we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
this is actually a scientific thing as well as an emotional thing. Angie, do I only have 6 minutes left? Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, ladies. I need to make sure I have some time. Okay, she's on mute. I can't hear her. All right. So, anyways, so we stay attached to these identities because the roles worked for us, like we were just saying, right? So if you remember my story about being successful, it felt good. I got awards, I made a bunch of money, I bought anything I wanted to. But also these things that I was holding on to, these things that you're holding on to, these ideas, traditions, memories, rules, some way they've kept us safe or they've given us control. And at some point they served us, or we wouldn't have not done them. We wouldn't have had a need for them. But at some point we have to let go and move on, or they'll suffocate our becoming of who we were meant to be. So in time's sake, I'm only going to get one more story in here. But the beauty of letting go is allowing yourself to grow into something new, to get excited about the possibilities that you're open to. You give yourself permission to forgive yourself and others. There's a quote by Maya Angelou that I love. It's when we know better, we do better. So what a gift to remind ourselves that when we offer forgiveness, okay, good. Thank you, Verlaine. When we offer forgiveness, we release guilt and shame and resentment against ourselves and those we believe that have hurt us in some way. We will oftentimes spend our lives blaming other people for the things that have happened to us. And the truth is, yes, you did experience that. But if you want to grow, you have to let go, forgive, and let go of the shame that came with those experiences. So we get to let go of the perfectionism. I don't know about you, but I'm a huge perfectionist, majority of my life. I wanted to control everything, know everything. And one of the greatest things that we can do is give ourselves the gift of receiving and learning through our experiences instead of trying to control them and evolving along our journey. I always tell people if we were perfect, there'd be no reason to be here and it would be very, very boring, right? Can you imagine a life where you were perfect? I mean, I always thought I was, but when we let go of what no longer serves us, we also make room for expansion in our life. So everything in life is energy. And if you're giving your energy to something that no longer serves you, right? You can't give it to something that's better for you. If you think about it as like a glass and it has water in it, and all of the water is full at the top, the only way to add more water to it is to pour out what's already in there. And my favorite part of letting go is that your body softens, your energy lightens, and you return back to that flow, which is your natural, healthy state of being, that part of you that, does fun things and just has excitement. So I would love to tell you about another person that I know. Learning to say no is so important. I would love to tell you about another person that I worked with. Her name was Miranda. And she was also referred to me about a client. And when we started working together, she was just shy of 30, so she was a little bitty baby. And she had established her career. She was a massage therapist, and I always kind of felt like she was her own healer. She was just a beautiful soul. But she'd just broken up with a boyfriend that she had moved across the country to California, and she felt like she was alone. So she had severe anxiety. It kept her from going to public places, and she would actually vomit every time she would think of going into large crowds. It was severe, severe anxiety. And it caused her to cancel plans with her friends, her colleagues. And then it spiraled into shame because she was canceling and guilt because she felt like she was letting people down and just a bunch of feelings of unworthiness. She came from a very religious upbringing that she no longer aligned with. Again, nothing wrong with religious upbringings, but for her, she no longer aligned. And she was dealing with resentment with her mother and her grandparents for what she felt was like a shame-filled childhood, where she never felt like she was good enough because of all these strict rules and judgment. And her father had also abandoned her in her teens. So when we met, she'd never heard of somebody like me, right? I do Reiki, I'm an intuitive. She was raised in the South. So somebody who says, that they work with the mind, body, and soul, she was just thinking I was a lot crazy, right? Which maybe I am, a little woo-woo. So to say she was a skeptic was completely an understatement. However, she came by referral and she was literally miserable enough to try anything. So she gave me a chance. And to this day, Miranda's transformation still gives me chills. We started very, very similar to Dr. N. We did the energy releasing and letting go of what she was holding on to. We worked with self-reflection. We let go of the stories that she had created in her mind and her past, and remembered that our experiences are simply a perception of the moment. And that if you put all of these people in the room, they're all going to perceive the moment differently. And I reminded her, and she worked through the idea that the way that she perceived her family was not the same way that her parents or her mother or her grandmother perceived what they were doing for her. We added rules like somatic exercises, trust building exercising, journaling, and we added running to her schedule because she was 30 and she could run and it didn't hurt her knees. So with all of this combination of work, she let go of all of these various different things she was holding on to, right? She actually started going into social situations. She joined a Dungeons and Dragons in-person meetup group, started going to concerts, and she created a healthy reciprocal relationship with others. She actually moved back home to the South with her mom. They had a beautiful relationship, and she began following her own intuition and living her life rooted in the moment instead of in the past, right? So her story is so impactful because she learned that by letting go of what no longer served her, she opened herself up to a life worth waking up to every day. So I'd love if you would just take a moment to reflect on what you're holding on to. Something that no longer serves you, that maybe you created the story in your mind, or something that, maybe it did happen exactly the way that you saw it. But just reflect on, how is that hurting me by holding on to that? I'm going to say that that's not my alarm. Okay, great. um, and so finally, I want to give you my final secret to enoughness. As you reflect on that, I'm in a time crunch, so I apologize.
Barbie, I
Yeah.
know some of the women said it's okay that, a few more minutes, and I just go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. This is my final secret. The final secret is to this journey is that you must come home to your truth. This journey is not about becoming somebody new. We don't want you to become something new. I want you to honor who you are. But it's about returning to the person that you were before the world made you small. You know that you're not honoring yourself when other people's expectations and views of you change the way you feel about yourself. When you silence that inner voice because you don't want to upset other people, or you spend a bunch of time on social media trying to get people to like you. Sometimes we'll confuse our roles in life, like, my role of being a mother or your role of being a friend or whatever, with who we are. We call it our identity. And we lose what makes us unique and special in the world because we're just trying to be these roles, right? And then finally, the biggest thing that I see people do all of the time is self-sabotage by doing things like overcommitting. Women, we love to do that, right? Overcommit and then cancel on the plans that we made for our self-care, right? Breaking promises to ourselves. And then we give ourselves shame and guilt and all of those things for not doing what we said that we were going to do for ourselves. So when you come home to your truth, your worthiness, your enoughness, remember, I continue to say you are enough just as you are. But when you're living in this truth, you begin to trust that inner guidance, that natural intuition that we as women all have. You live aligned with who you are, not just what you have accomplished. You recognize that there will be tough times in life, but that you know that you can get through it. We said earlier about being strong, right? You no longer find your worth in other people's opinions. You understand that that all comes from their own perspective, their own life, and all of those different things. And lastly, you keep promises to yourself, such an important thing, because your word is everything. So if you can't show up for yourself, who's going to show up for you? We teach the world how to treat us and honor yourself. So I'm going to run through my very last story with Ruta pretty quickly. But Ruta is a 50-year-old woman, very successful. She is the perfect example of a high-achieving woman who took on responsibilities she didn't need to, and whose value came from her title as an executive, as a wife, as a mother, as the person who showed up for everybody, right? And she struggled because when I met her, she had just lost her job, a position that she really, really valued. She was laid off, not because she was doing anything wrong, but because the company decided to cut the high income earners. So losing this job made her feel like she wasn't good enough, right? Like, why let me go? And so she thought initially, okay, cool, I'm going to take this as like a break, no big deal. I need some time off to take care of myself. But months and months went by and she would have all these job interviews, but she simply wouldn't get a new job. She couldn't understand why these people didn't want her. And it started to take a toll on her. And additionally, Ruta's husband came to me because he and her were having such a hard time in their marriage because she was still so controlling. And because now she didn't have a job to take out her energy on, she started controlling her children, her grown children's lives, filling their times with all of these various different things. And they were just on the verge of divorce after 35 years. So in our work together, we also started with energy healing. I can't tell you how important this tool is, this energy healing, because it really does release things. She sat in the uncomfortableness. She had to figure out that she was not her title, kind of like we were talking about before. And she was a very, very stubborn woman. I have to tell you, I love her. She's amazing and an extremely stubborn woman. She wanted to do things the way that she wanted to do them. And she didn't recognize the patterns that were taking over her life. So our work together, I made her sit in the uncomfortableness of quiet. She had to promise me that she would show up for her appointments and that she would take the time for herself. And like all of the stories that we talked about today, her process wasn't easy. Her healing process wasn't easy. She had to uncover more about herself than she ever thought. And she had to take responsibility in her life for things that, weren't working for her, like her marriage. I'm happy to report now that her marriage is on steady ground and it's rooted in respect and compassion and reflection. And her husband actually feels like he has a voice that he once didn't feel like he ever had. And they now travel together where they used to travel separately. So the work that she did, the self-care that she gave herself, the daily journaling, the 10,000 steps a day, the being outside, the doing the things for herself, showing up, allowed her to live a life where she aligned with who she was, her soul, and not what she did. So this is what coming home to yourself feels like. She found joy in her life. She has now healthy relationships, and she has respect for the body that carried her through the 50 years of her life. She honors it. So my last question for you is, if you had to reflect one last time, who are you when nobody is watching? And what would it mean to finally live as that beautiful woman that doesn't have to perform for everybody else? Just notice what comes up, no judgment. But I do invite you, when you notice this, also pay attention to how your body responds. Because like I told you before, the body doesn't lie. It tells us what we're feeling inside. So does your body relax, or does it start feeling anxious, right? Like, if I don't know who I am, that causes me anxiety, right? None of these feelings or whatever you got going on here, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just bringing awareness to these things, and that's how we heal. So to summarize everything, I wanted to take a breather, but I don't think we're going to have time to. The secrets of enoughness that I taught you today, they're not just ideas, they're portals into a new way of being. And we've learned to honor who we had to become and stop blaming ourselves and start witnessing ourselves and understanding that the things that we had to do, the survival, it shaped us, but they don't define us. We let go of what no longer serves us. These slideshows, sorry about that. We let go of what no longer serves us. We made space in our energy. We understand now that we have to make this space in our body and in our mind and in our life. And we have to release what we are holding on to that's holding us back and give ourselves that beautiful freedom. And finally, we learn to come home to our own truth. This very deep remembering of what you were before the performance. And with the practice of these tools, life becomes softer, but also more powerful, quieter, but also more true. And it's no longer becomes about being perfect. It just becomes about being whole. And with these portals into enoughness, you'll stop chasing your worth, and you'll know it exists simply because you are worthy. You're enough. You'll keep over You'll stop overgiving and underliving. You'll allow yourself to rest without making it feel like you're being lazy. And without these things, you also may appear as successful, but you will still feel empty on the inside. So without these things, you'll overgive and underlive. You'll stay exhausted. You might appear successful, but you'll feel empty, right? So the beautiful things that we learned here today is that you don't have to continue living your life where you ask yourself, like I asked myself, what's wrong with me? Why can't I change? Or why am I so tired all the time? Because healing's possible, like we've talked about today. We've seen through the stories and from your guys' notes that transformation is possible and coming home to yourself, that inner beauty is possible. And the beautiful thing, you don't have to do it alone. The reason why I'm here today is because I'm offering to walk this transformative path with you. And because of that, I have two beautiful gifts for you. The first one is the healing toolbox, which I'm going to put the little link in chat if you don't want to do a QR code. This is, let me put this in chat real quick. This is a guide that I wrote to support your nervous system, because when our nervous system is heightened, we can't make decisions that make sense. Our brain goes into survival mode. And so it's important to support your nervous system, but also to honor the energy system and give the emotional resilience that you deserve. So that is part of the healing toolbox guide that I wrote for you. And then the second thing that I would love to offer you ladies, that's just for this group. You'll see that the code is very much personalized for this group. And I'm going to put that in chat. The QR code also works, is an offer to sign up for a one-on-one Awakening Your Worth session with me. So it's 30 minutes. It doesn't cost you anything. It's completely complimentary. And I just want to give you the opportunity to explore the patterns that after today, when you reflect, that you feel like might be holding you back. And what is keeping you from really feeling like you're enough and realizing your worth? So just click on those links, scan those QR codes. We all know how to do this. But I want to leave you with one more thing. I promise I'm almost finished, Angie. That it's time to come home to yourself and simply remember that you're worthy and that you're enough. Your soul is not behind you or ahead of you. It's not waiting for you to become more. It's here now, whole, wise, and ready whenever you are ready to embrace it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on.